Jana balabha girivardhari girivardhari Gopi jana balabha girivardhari Girivardhari Jasodanandana Brajajanaranjana Jasodanandana Brajajanaranjana Jamuna Tiravana Chadi Jamuna Tiravana Chadi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari Madhava Kunda Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari Madhava Kunda Bihari Gopi Jana Balabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Balabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Balabha Girivardhari Girivardhari Jasodanandana Brajajanaranjana Jasodanandana Brajajanaranjana Jamunatira Vanachadi Jamunatira Vanachadi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Vishnupad Paramahansa Hari Vijagacharya Jastatara Satasi Srimad His Divine Grace Sri Bhakti Vedanta Swami Ki Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Gaur Premanandi. It's cold in the temple room. Okay. Prayers of Queen Kunti, part something. 3, part 3. So, how many who are here this morning were not with us yesterday evening? Okay. A little review. Little. The latter part of yesterday evening was verses 28 to 29 and 30. So I'll review those a little bit more than the section that was just before that, 25, 26, and 27. I don't know about you, but I know I'm benefiting a lot from spending so much time and contemplation on Queen Kunti. Because the message of Queen Kunti is coming from Queen Kunti's heart. She's a very special person. Very, very, very special devotee of Krishna. And wonderfully, right after chapter 8 is chapter 9, where another very wonderful devotee of Krishna, Grandfather Bhishma, very special personalities. Disclosing their heart. Bhishma had a different function. Bhishma was like the father of the Pandavas in the absence of their father. He was like their father. He was grandfather, but he was taking care of them like his own children. And he's a Mahajan. So everything that they received from Grandfather Bhishma was superlative. And he loved giving to them because they're so dear to Krishna, and he loved Krishna. So they were as dear to him as Krishna was to him. But his role was different. His role was the grandfather. Prabhupada would often say, the grandfather is more affectionate than the father, for some reason. I guess the intimacy of dealing with children and the familiarity that comes with that intimacy dealing with children is different. The grandfather is very kind. Anyway, so Grandfather Bhishma had a very special function. But Queen Kunti, she raised these 5 children that are all pure devotees of Krishna, eternal associates of Krishna. She was their mother. She was everything for them because they didn't have a father. So what's in her heart is what's coming out. Is Krishna's leaving? Please don't go. But he doesn't say that till the very end. The beginning part is just she's gushing out of her heart as her appreciation for Krishna. As little review, going back, Vishwanath, the very first verse, prayer that she speaks, Vishwanath is saying in his commentary that Krishna's just done all these amazing things. Thing after thing after thing, so many amazing things. So she's feeling such feelings of intense love for Krishna. She can't restrain herself. He's going to leave. So she just pours out her appreciation for Krishna. And because of that condition of heart, when there's pure devotion, then things that others can't understand can be understood. The descending mercy of Krishna enters into the heart that's just so wide open. She's expressing understandings about Krishna that ordinary people can't have. Ordinary people can't have. And she's disclosing them openly. This is just first canto. And she has, as mentioned, she has this understanding of Krishna as the Supersoul. Now, Supersoul means many things. Supersoul literally means the Lord of the heart, but as we'll see as we progress this morning, that Lord of the heart is the expansion of Garbhodakshai Vishnu, who's the expansion of Mahavishnu, who's the expansion of Narayana, who's the expansion of Krishna. She knows that. So as the super soul, here's the super soul standing before her, wanting to touch her feet. She's bewildered. So repeatedly, a theme in all of this, let's see. There we go. Let's chant this prayer together as we've been doing each time. E Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute. Translation: O my dear Krishna, you are the friend of the distressed and the source of creation. You are the master of the gopis and the lover of Radharani. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. So themes in these earlier sections. Outstanding is the quality of humility. Of course, pure devotees have that quality completely naturally. She has an abundance of humility. I find it very inspiring. Like Sanatana Goswami in Brihat Bhagavatamrita says, a characteristic of humility which Queen Kunti exhibits is, although there's an abundance of qualification and quality, one feels oneself unfit. So it's not low self-esteem, but it's in relation to Krishna, feeling oneself unfit to be in Krishna's service. So feeling oneself unfit to be in Krishna's service doesn't mean, someone was recently asking me this question, it doesn't mean, oh, I can't serve Krishna because I'm unfit to serve Krishna. It's a natural feeling of humility. So the part that's missing in that feeling of humility when one feels maybe I can't serve Krishna because I'm unfit is, the missing part is recognizing Krishna's very merciful. Krishna is very kind. And although I'm unfit, like Prahlad, being pushed by the demigods headed by Lord Brahma to go offer prayers to Lord Nrsingadev, I'm unfit. Here's my disqualification. I know them. This one. I'm unqualified. How can I stand before you and offer prayers? But it's a service I'm being asked to do by the demigods, so I can't disobey my superiors. He's their superior. That's why they're asking. But he's looking at them as his superiors because they're seniority by age and so forth, controllers of the universe and so forth. So I have to. But you'll accept because even it's paltry and flawed and not nice. You're very kind because it's offered with humility and love, you'll accept. And Lord Nrsingadev more than accepts. He smiles. His anger goes away. He's very happy. That transcendental anger towards Hiranyakashipu, even after Hiranyakashipu was finished, he was still angry. Transcendental anger went away. So Kunti has such an abundance of humility. It's there in every verse. Every verse. Every verse. It's constant. It's not sometimes. Very strong. And she speaks about bhakti and how, she mentioned this yesterday, not as a philosopher. She's not a philosopher. She's a mother. And she understands and she explains things in that way. But it's right on. And by the process of speculation, it's not possible to understand about Krishna. So, but by bhakti it becomes possible. Things become disclosed unto the heart, not just even, a theoretical understanding, but realization from the heart, in the heart of one who's a devotee. Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojataha Janayati Ashu Vairagyam Jnanam Cha Yadahaitukam. The devotee has this capacity to understand things that great philosophers can't understand. Become a devotee. So, there we go. She emphasizes the mystery of Krishna, or the inconceivable nature of Krishna's quality. And he cannot be seen. She says, I see you, but I don't see you. Like, the example given was like an actor on a stage in costume, one may not recognize, who is that? You just see the actor with the costume. Or a puppet doing something. The example of Vishwanath is was the image. A puppet playing a violin. So you have to be a really good puppeteer to have a puppet play a violin. I mean, how do you move the fingers to get the... Anyway, a puppet can play a violin, and the people in the audience think, wow, what a great violin player. But it's not the puppet playing the violin. It's the puppeteer moving the puppet that plays the violin. But you can say it's the puppet playing the violin. So then there's the backdrop, and then behind the backdrop is the puppeteer, who you don't see. So Krishna is that person who we don't see, even you're standing behind the backdrop and you can see the puppeteer. Krishna is like that as far as Kunti is concerned. He's very mysterious. And there's lots of seemingly contradictory characteristics in him, like his giving protection to his devotee, and he admonishes the non-devotee, but he's equal to everyone. Looks like favoritism. So she doesn't hesitate to explore this territory of seeming contradictory qualities. She's just glorifying him. She's puzzled by him. She has great attachment to him. She has great love for him. She sees him as a great mystery. But that doesn't check her attachment to him. And same for us. By hearing these characteristics, and he's in him all contradictory qualities are reconciled capacity. He's all the more lovable. Within him is everything. So that's our philosophy. And then when he does what he does, then we can see he does this and he does that. It looks contradictory, but he's the source of everything. So it's not contradictory. Although it looks contradictory. So 25, 26, and 27. 25 is that wonderful verse where she prays for calamities. I don't know of anybody that prays for calamities. But Queen Kunti prays for calamities. And her prayer for calamity is in reference to the previous text 24, where she cites again and again and again, you protected us from calamities. And she gives by name the different calamities. And when the calamities came, Krishna came. Or Krishna was there protecting and showing his kindness and his special mercy to his devotees. So 25, she's praying for calamities again and again. Why? Because by calamities coming again, you come. And when you come, our material existence is finished. We're with you. Material existence is finished. So bring on the calamities. And then the next two verses deal, 26 and 27, deal with this phrase, akinchana. Then the first one is akinchana gochara, and then the second one is akinchana vitaya. They're related. Akinchana gochara, akinchana means having no material shelter, or Prabhupada translated as materially impoverished. You don't have to be a pauper to be a Vaishnav. Rather, akinchana gochara means you may have stuff or don't have stuff, but you don't see stuff as the facility for happiness. Prabhupada taught us by his example and by his words over and over again that one may have or not have. One may have facility or not have facility. Just like here you have a nice facility. And Krishna's sending people to fill up the facility. Now you have this challenge of training everybody and keeping everybody engaged nicely on their path back to Godhead. Then there was a time where you had no facility. So a devotee isn't happy when there's facility and unhappy when there's no facility, or can engage in service when there's facility and can't engage in service when there's no facility. Prabhupada came with no facility. He wasn't morose or despondent. He was engaged in Krishna's service very happily. So, akinchana gochara is there's no material shelter. You may have or not have. No material shelter, no false shelter. Then the next verse is there is a shelter, and that's Krishna. And when there's material shelter, you cannot feelingly, sincerely chant or call upon Krishna in prayer or any other way. So the calamities have a benefit. Okay, so now we're going to 28. My Lord, I consider your lordship to be eternal time. This is review. We're not going to go through the whole thing. The supreme controller, without beginning and end, the all-pervasive one. In distributing your mercy, you are equal to everyone. The dissensions between living beings are due to social intercourse. So the topic of destiny, which is another puzzling topic, I can tell you from, being a sannyasi and answering questions a lot, it's a big question. Is there really free will, or are things predetermined? There are different ways of asking the question, but that's, the essence of a very common question. So Kunti is tackling it, or, taking it on directly. And then is there partiality? Is the Ishvara, the controller, because she said you're the supreme controller, so is the controller who gives something nice to the devotee and something not nice to the non-devotee, or even gives something not nice to the devotee? Is there partiality or is there neutrality? It's puzzling. It's puzzling. She cites different examples. Then we discussed this yesterday evening, is even our spiritual destiny predetermined. So there are these apparent contradictory features to Krishna, and for Kunti and for many people, mystery. Paramatma feature is Kala, and Kala is the witness of all our actions. I want the light down. Without the light, please. Whoever's controlling the light. Huh? Oh, okay. All right. How did you know that? Oh, okay. Eternal time is the witness of all our actions, good and bad, and thus the resultant reactions are destined by him. He's the controller, and therefore they're destined by him, but we're doing the good or the bad activities. So we're determining our destiny. Man is the creator of his own destiny. Sadasad Yoni Janmasu from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 13. Without his sanction, not a blade of grass can move. Prabhupada would often speak that message. So there's sanction depending upon our choices. So living beings are given as much freedom as they deserve. And then on the other hand, misuse of that freedom is the cause of suffering. We're the creator of our sad or asad, our good fortune or ill fortune, or mix. He's the controller of the circumstance, but we generate the circumstance by our free will choices. The Supreme Lord is all-pervading, and therefore he can see everyone's activities. He's within the heart as Paramatma. He's within every atom as Paramatma. And as such, Kunti is saying, this is eternal time, who is the witness of everything. And eternal time means eternal, no beginning and no end. That's Krishna. Where's Krishna's beginning and where's Krishna's end? He's unborn. He's eternal. And that's a big concept, something that has no beginning and no end. In this world, everything has a beginning and an end. And the source of its beginning is one who has no beginning. It sounds like, word jugglery, but it's Krishna's position, and she's understanding that. This is Vishwanath's rendering of this verse. I consider you to be the destroyer of the offenders, the controller without beginning or end, the most powerful, equal to all, moving everywhere in all living beings, and the abode of conflicting qualities. And this conflicting qualities is this phrase here, Yad Mita Kalihi, in whom there is conflict. Within Krishna, he contains, or he possesses conflicting qualities. And sometimes he exhibits this, and sometimes he exhibits that. And he's the source, the repository, the ultimate shelter of everything. So, why he does this and why he does that, Vishwanath says his intentions cannot be known. Bhishma Dev says the same thing in the next chapter to Yudhisthira. Great sages, yogis, ascetics, mystics, they ponder the plan of the Lord. They can't understand. So don't try. I mean, we can try. What's Krishna's intention? What does Krishna want? So it's good to ask that question. But, try to get, a 4.0 in that question. It's not going to happen. You can get some idea. And according to some idea, you do your best to fulfill what you understand Krishna's intention to be. But Queen Kunti is saying, and Bhishma Deva is saying, and they're great authorities, to know perfectly, Yad mita kalihi means in whom there is conflict, because the Lord gives suffering and bliss. He is equal and prejudiced, and unmerciful and merciful. Note, those are opposites. They're contradictory. And in him, all contradictory things are found, and he's the, what's the word? Reconciliation. Devakinandan sometimes has to reconcile the accounting. Over here it says this, and over there it says that. Now you have to reconcile the accounts. How do you make it all balance? So that reconciliation is within Krishna for all things that are opposites, apparently, because he's the source of everything. So in him, apparently, all apparently contradictory opposites are resolved, which is a big mystery. And in him, that those things exist simultaneously, they're irreproachable. This irreproachable term is from text 19. He's irreproachable. You can't fault him, because within him are contradictory qualities. No fault at all. Then, we're going too slowly with our review, because this is just review from yesterday. Text 29. Oh Lord, no one can understand your transcendental pastime. So she's moving from his qualities to his pastimes. Nama, Rupa, Guna, Lila. No one can understand your transcendental pastimes, which appear to be human and so are misleading, because he's not human. It looks human. Look, it looks human. But it's not human. It's transcendental. What's transcendental? Well, it's misleading if you think it's human. You have no specific object of favor, nor do you have any object of envy. Name dveshosti na priyaha from Bhagavad Gita. People think only that he's partial. He's not. So this apparent contradictory quality, is he partial or impartial? What are his intentions? There's this intention word. And it looks like favor to one and punishment for another, like the questions last night. Why did Krishna allow Abhimanyu to be killed and the sons of Draupadi to be killed? He's the protector of his devotee. What was his intention? Who can understand why Krishna does what he does? And so what to speak of the Abhimanyus and the sons of Draupadi? What about ourselves? No, we're really important, aren't we? To ourselves, at least. And why is Krishna doing this instead of that? That question comes all the time, throughout life, in so many, many, many ways. Bhishma says you can't understand his intention. So then the text or commentary, the Lord's mercy upon the fallen souls is equally distributed, just as the sun is never partial to anyone. Partiality in receiving the Lord's mercy is relative to the recipient, and it is not due to partiality of the all-merciful Lord. The sun shines everywhere, not only some places. And some places the sunshine doesn't reach because there's something blocking the sun. So we had this nice example of the sun stone and the blind man and the thief. Remember that example? And the owl. The sun is shining equally. And according to the quality of the receiver of the shining of the sun, it acts differently. There's not partiality from the sun. Similarly, no one knows the intentions of the Lord who desires to hide himself in human form, who does not show favor or hatred to anyone, and about whom all men have different opinions. And the verses we're going to cover for this morning is launching on men have different opinions about another one of the contradictory features of Krishna. He's unborn and yet he's born. So different persons have different opinions about that. And when people have an opinion, generally they're really strong about, this is it. And we had this discussion yesterday. What about someone else that has another opinion that's also a valid opinion? How do you handle that? Having opinions about people that have different opinions. Okay. Vishwanath's commentary. Who will decide the truth about you if there is a disagreement? And his commentary is no one. And these two verses, 29 and 30, explain it. So differences of opinions, sometimes it ends in argument. Text 30. Of course, it is bewildering, O soul of the universe, that you work though you are inactive, and that you take birth though you are the vital force and the unborn. You yourself descend amongst animals, men, and sages, and aquatics. Verily, this is bewildering. So what to speak of human form when you appear in these other forms? There's apparently, in terms of his pastimes again, because that was the previous message, his pastimes are bewildering. Then there's things that are contradictory in his pastimes, that according to our binary mind, human capacity can't sort it out. Is it a 1 or a 0? Is it a plus or a minus? Is it up or down? And a cow could be simultaneously up and down, or a 1 and a 0. How can these contradictory features of Krishna's pastimes be reconciled? It's contradictory. So commentary says, the Lord is the all-pervading supersoul of all existence, yet he appears in interesting forms, like a boar, or as a human, like the appearances Rama and Krishna, or as a rishi like Narayana, or as a fish. This is bewildering. It's seeming contradictory. He appears in these ways and yet he's unborn. Scripture says it. Shruti mantras say he's unborn. The impersonal take, well, that means the truth is Brahman, because Brahman isn't born. Something else that's born isn't Brahman. But, the essence is Brahman. And he has nothing to do, but he does things. No one is equal to or greater than him, because he is inconceivably powerful. Everything is possible in him. Therefore, no one can calculate him exactly. That's a theme. Who can know? No one can know. We don't have the capacity. Can the limited know the unlimited? No, because we're limited. And the subject matter is unlimited. But to some degree we can know something according to the disclosure of the unlimited to the limited. And the medium of that disclosure is bhakti. Krishna discloses to his devotee that the speculator, the binary processor guy, can't understand. By mental speculation, it bounces. So you argue in favor of the 1 or you argue in favor of the 0. But to get that it's both 1 and 0, not accessible. You can't understand Krishna. and his pastimes and his qualities. Okay, so that was our review. And now we're ready for this morning's verses, starting with text 31. Let me get to that page. There we are. Okay. Okay. My dear Lord, my dear Krishna. Now it gets into some rasa topics, where the intimacy of the love of the residents of Vrindavan supersedes the veneration and awe and reverence that Kunti feels. She knows, Kunti knows, Mother Jasoda is up there. Now, it's her humility, but it's not only her humility, it's her realization. My dear Krishna, Yashoda took up a rope to bind you when you committed an offense, and your perturbed eyes were flooded with tears, which washed the mascara from your eyes, and you were afraid, though fear personified is afraid of you. This sight is bewildering to me. Of course, she didn't see it. Devaki, or Kunti, was not present when this pastime, but she saw it by hearing about it. The first place that you see things is with your ears, according to our Vaishnava teaching. So she knows that the love of Mother Jasoda is awesome. She can't fathom the love of Mother Jasoda, because Kunti is a reverential devotee. Mother Jasoda isn't. I mean, can you imagine? The answer is no. Can you imagine in Vaikuntha, the residents of Vaikuntha chasing after Narayana with a stick in their hand and a rope? And then Narayana starts to cry? That's not going to happen in Vaikuntha. But it happens in Vrindavan. Generally, the Lord is worshipped by the devotees in a reverential attitude. That's Vaikuntha, reverential attitude. But the Lord is meticulously pleased when the devotee, out of pure affection and love, considers the Lord to be less important than himself should be with a small h. The Lord's pastimes in the original abode of Goloka Vrindavan are exchanged in that spirit. So there's Goloka Vrindavan, where the cowherd boys treat Krishna as their equal. They have love for him. They like hearing his flute playing. They're completely charmed, as are the peacocks and the cows and the birds and all the river Jamuna and everyone. But they regard him as their equal. Now, this is Vaikuntha. Is this going to happen in Vaikuntha? Not going to happen. So, Prabhupada's language is the friends of Krishna consider him to be one of them. They do not consider him to be of reverential importance. They have one of their games is one of the boys covers Krishna's eyes and he's supposed to guess who that boy is. They're like children. Or here's Krishna carrying the victor in their wrestling match, Sridham, on his shoulders. And Sridham says, it's in Nectar Devotion, what kind of big man are you? People say you're so powerful, but you always lose in wrestling. What kind of big man are you? reverential devotion is absent. This is now Prabhupada's language. The Lord accepts the chastisements of the parents more cheerfully than the prayers of the Vedic hymns. So the chastisement references Mother Jasoda binding Krishna or chasing him, holding a little stick, chastisement for his mischief. Here's a very beautiful painting where Mother Jasoda says to little Krishna, "Can you get your father's shoes?" So imagine, a little child, then transfer that to the Supreme Lord. A little child has said, "Can you get your father's shoes?" He toddles over and picks up the shoes, puts the shoes on his head, and carries the shoes on his head to his father. Now what are mom and dad going to feel? Their hearts are going to melt. And this is the Supreme Lord. And pure devotees of the Supreme Lord in parental affection. What's happening in their hearts? And because they have that affection, Krishna has that affection for them. It's not play acting. This is part of the mystery. And part of the mystery is Krishna being afraid of fear personified. That's also in the verse. The Lord accepts, Again, this is Prabhupada's language, directly in his purport. The Lord accepts the chastisements of the parents more cheerfully than the prayers of the Vedic hymns. So there's Mother Jasoda with her stick, Krishna hiding, fearful. He accepts the reproaches of his fiancées more palatably than the Vedic hymns. Though Krishna's affection for the gopis surpasses Krishna's affection for the queens in Dwarka, and he tells the queens in Dwarka in Brihat Bhagavatamrita, I have special affection for the residents of Vrindavan, and here's why. He wants them to understand his heart, so he discloses his heart. And it has to do with their affection for him, the intensity of love that they have for him. Inconceivably, another contradiction, even more so than the queens of Dwarka. Now, we're not putting down the queens of Dwarka. They're down here. It's just the superlative, like the acharyas say, perfect, more perfect, most perfect. The queens of Dwarka are not less than perfect. Their love is perfect. But the intensity of the love of the residents of Vrindavan for Krishna is very special. So now I found this on the website. Fear personified. How do you make an image of fear personified? That's what one artist did. There's some eyes, or apparently 2 eyes. That's fear personified, otherwise black. And Krishna is one who is feared by fear personified. Then here's another image of fear personified. Compliments of Mr. Google. Fear personified. Oh, when Kunti says that Krishna was afraid of Mother Jasoda, look at his eyes, he looks fearful. It wasn't play acting, because if he was play acting, that's real easy. He's just play acting. But he's Krishna who's actually feeling and experiencing fear from a little stick in Mother Jasoda's hands. He who saw Kamsa and just jumped up on the high seat that Kamsa wasn't grabbed him by the hair and threw him to the ground and punched him. Kamsa, who was feared by everybody. Krishna is afraid of a little stick in Mother Jasoda's hands, who loves Krishna. She's never going to use the stick. She loves him. So she threw the stick away. You see, there's the stick. Now she's binding Krishna and he's afraid. So this is the mystery I hope you appreciate. Kunti's mystified by the mystery of Krishna being afraid. He who is feared by fear personified. She accepts as true that he was internally feeling fear. Not play acting, but actually fearful. So Mother Jasoda was able to bind Krishna. First, she's catching Krishna. Even the Upanishads say he can overcome all others running. So Krishna's running, and when he was running from Kalyavana, he was always just outside the reach of Kalyavana. So he ran faster, so Krishna ran faster. Just a little bit faster than Kalyavana could run, so Kalyavana thought, maybe I can catch him. But he was never able to catch. But Mother Jasoda was able to catch Krishna. Now who's the faster runner? Kalyavana or Mother Jasoda? But she was able to capture Krishna because she was captured by the affection of Mother Jasoda. And then binding Krishna. He was bound not by the rope, but by the affection of Mother Jasoda. And the cowherd boys have this little game. When they're having their lunch, they take some morsel of food from their lunch box or pail or bag and have Krishna close his eyes, and then he tastes what that is and he's supposed to guess what it is. And sometimes they put a flower in Krishna's mouth with his eyes closed. And they're laughing, and Krishna's enjoying, like little boys. He's affectionate upon his devotee. This is the outstanding of all of Krishna's qualities, Bhaktavatsala. One of the things I like in the pastime of the Kaliya serpent, when Krishna came to the shore of the river Jamuna and saw all the cowherd boys and the cows. Look at that lady. She's upside down. As if dead. Krishna was stunned for a moment. His own Yogamaya potency overwhelmed Krishna, which is another mystery, so that he could feel the feeling of the loss of the cowherd boys and the cows. He was the controller of all controllers, became bewildered, seeing his beloved cows and cowherd boys in that condition. Because he's Bhaktavatsala. They're his devotees. Then that Yogamaya curtain was withdrawn, and then Krishna knew exactly what to do. He just glanced upon them and they came back to life. Text 32. Some say, so this is different opinions. This is 3 verses of different opinions. Some say that the unborn is born for the glorification of pious kings. And others say that he is born to please King Yadu, one of your dear devotees. You appear in his family as sandalwood appears in the Malaya hills. So just to identify these images, this is from a Back to Godhead article. This is King Indradumna, who was told about the deity of Nilamadava by a sage who came to King Indradumna's kingdom to inform him, you want to see the Supreme Lord. I can tell you how you can see him. You go to Nilachala, and there's the form of Nilamadhava, and told him of the features and qualities of Nilamadhava. Please go. I came here just to deliver that message to you. So he's a king, King Indradumna, who the Lord appeared for his glorification of King Indradumna. And the painting, or the photograph at the bottom, is our ISKCON Malaysia farm, where they're growing sandalwood trees. I've never been there, but it's on the internet. So the connection is that sandalwood is known commonly, not always, as Malayan sandalwood. And Prabhupada makes the point, sandalwood can grow anywhere. But because lots of sandalwood grows in the hills of the Malayas, people commonly continue to say the Malayan sandalwood. So similarly, Krishna appears in the family of the Yadu dynasty. Why? To glorify King Yadu. So there are different names of Krishnas, Yadunandana, etc. Because Krishna is glorious, so now Yadu is glorious because Krishna appears in the family of Yadu. And in the commentary of Vishwanath, he says, there are many opinions about the cause of your appearance. In the verse, there's this punya shloka term. Specifically, he discloses that it refers to Yudhisthira, since at the time of Yudhisthira, he was known by that name. Punya means piety, punya shloka. So Yudhisthira was always being praised as a pious man, punya shloka. So Krishna appeared to glorify Maharaj Yudhisthira, and otherwise who'd know about Maharaj Yudhisthira? Except Krishna appeared as his cousin. He appeared to increase the honor and fame of Yudhisthira. Then Yadavaya, Madhavaya, Keshavaya Namaha. This Yadava, or Yaduvira, or Yadunandana, is names of Krishna that are glorifying Yadu, the Yadu dynasty, because Krishna appeared in Dwaraka, where the Yadu dynasty was residing. There's a very beautiful painting of this pastime where Narada went to visit Krishna in Dwaraka, and he saw in each one of the palaces that Krishna was engaged in different activities simultaneously, 16,108 different Krishnas simultaneously. And even it goes further to say that it was at different times of the day simultaneously. He would go to one palace and it was night, and another palace and it was midday, another palace it was morning, another palace it was afternoon, and time was completely flexible. Because Krishna is time, eternal time, and he can move eternal time as he likes, or time moves according to Krishna's liking. And his liking is the happiness of his devotees. So in the company of his devotees, he enjoys. Here's another nice painting. This is the city of Dwarka. And Krishna is returning to Dwarka. We have that section of the first canto Bhagavatam. Krishna is returning and everyone's celebrating in their different rasas. They're celebrating. Then a really nice painting I found of Dwarka. Krishna made Dwarka famous, and therefore it is said, Prabhupada writes, Lord Sri Krishna is just like the sandalwood that grows in the Malaya hills, or maybe the other way around. The sandalwood is just like Krishna. He makes the place special because of his appearance in that place. So names of Krishna include this Partha Sarati. There is Partha and there is Sarati, or Partha Sarati, the driver of the chariot of Arjuna, or another Nandana and Yasoda Nandana. Now, those of you that are familiar with Harinam Chintamani, Haridas Thakur says these names of Krishna are primary names. Primary names are specifically Krishna in relation with his devotees, like the Malayan sandalwood, or Nandanandana, or Yashoda Nandana. And these primary names invoke prema. The secondary names grant liberation, but not the same kind of love as that which is directly in relation to Krishna. And now, after Yasoda Nandana and Nandanandana, we're going to hear about Vasudeva and Devaki. Text 33. Others say, this is like different opinions about why Krishna, the unborn, is born. Others say that since both Vasudeva and Devaki prayed for you, you have taken your birth as their son. Undoubtedly, you are unborn, yet you take your birth for their welfare and to kill those who are envious of the demigods. So, similarly, in Prabhupada's writings, he uses this word not so often as Krishna addressed as Vasudeva Nandana, but Devaki Nandana is very common. So Devaki is glorified more than Vasudeva. And these three, Krishna reveals to Vasudeva and Devaki that in your previous life, your Sutapa and Prishni, you underwent long austerities to have me as your son. I appeared before you and told you I'll appear as 3 times as your son. So previously you were Sutapa and Prishni, and I appeared as Prishni Garbha. As Kashyapa and Aditi, I appeared as Upendra. And now you're Vasudeva and Devaki, and here I am. Vasudeva, Krishna. And there's a nice image of Prishni Garbha that, aside from being the son of Sutapa and Prishni, in Canto 2, Chapter 7, that's a list of incarnations of the Lord, Prishni Garbha appears as a name that the form of Vishnu that appeared before Dhruva. So that's Dhruva and Prishni Garbha, of the same name, so the Supreme Lord can appear as he wishes. Prishni Garbha. And as the son of Kashyapa and Aditi, he appeared as Vamana or Upendra. Upa means near, and Indra refers to Indra, Lord Indra. So he's Upa Indra, the younger brother of Indra, Upendra. Upendra. And then there's another opinion about the unborn taking birth. This is the last of this morning's verses. Others say that the world, being overburdened like a boat at sea, is much aggrieved, and that Brahma, who is your son, prayed for you, and so you have appeared to diminish the trouble. Now, Brahma is the son of Garbhodakshay Vishnu. But those of you that were here for the prayers of Lord Brahma, that discussion during the Japa retreat on January 1 and 2 of this year, Brahma, in those prayers to Krishna, says that you are my father. You are my father. And Krishna says, well, wait a minute, Brahma, what are you saying? Consider. I am your father? You're the firstborn living being, and I've just been born recently. I'm the 6-year-old boy, and you're saying I'm your father? This isn't very reasonable. And then Brahma gives his 3 proofs. He argues with his father. Sometimes children do that. But Krishna accepts defeat because he's making the point, it's rasa, that he gives us 3 different reasons, but without going through those 3 reasons right now. Narayana expands as Sankarshan, and Sankarshan expands as the 3 Purusha avatars. So that there's one entity. So it's correct to say that Krishna is the father of Brahma. He's the father of Brahma in the sense that all living entities have their seed-giving father as Krishna. But even specifically, that Narayana, as Garbhadakshayi Vishnu, without contact of Lakshmiji, begot Brahma. So not only he was the father via a mother, but he was directly the source of Lord Brahma. And these, I thought I would share with you some nice images. Now, of the 3, the ISKCON art is the best. A little partial, but there's Lord Brahma appearing from the navel of Garbhadakshayi Vishnu. So that very same Lord Brahma, when the earth, in the form of a cow, approached Lord Brahma saying, "Help! The surface of the earth is overburdened with demoniac kings, help!" So what did Brahma do? He went to his father, "Hey, Dad, help!" Now where did he go? That's an ocean. You can tell because there's aquatics. He went to the ocean of milk, because in the ocean of milk, there's Lord Vishnu reclining on the bed of Anantashesha, and there's Garuda, and there's some of the Lord's paraphernalia, and at his feet, Lakshmi. And the place is Swetadweep, which is, according to Prabhupada in this purport, it's the abode of Kshirodakshayi Vishnu. So now we have 2 different Vishnus. There's 3, but Garbhadakshayi Vishnu and Kshirodakshayi Vishnu are actually one entity, just a different function, and they're known according to their function. Their name identifies the function. It's one entity. There's 3 Purushas, one entity. How many universes are there? Too many to count, innumerable. 1 Garbhadakshayi Vishnu. How many super souls out there? Unlimited. 1 entity. And Kshirodakshayi Vishnu, Garbhadakshayi Vishnu, and Karnadakshayi Vishnu, 1 entity. Fit that into your binary processor and see what happens. It's contradictory. But the Supreme Lord is, in him, all contradictory qualities are resolved. If you're not a devotee, it remains a mystery. Or it's double talk. But the Upanishads are filled with double talk. I call it the Upanishadic double talk. He's inside of everything and he's outside of everything. He's very near and he's very far away as well. In chapter 9 Bhagavad Gita, same double talk. Those first verses. How to understand this? Well, if you're a Mayavadi, you speculate. And if you're a devotee, like Queen Kunti, it's revealed to you. And then so there's these different personalities that have these differing opinions about how it is that the unborn becomes born. And we just finished with our morning verses. So in the afternoon, we'll continue with verse 35 and coming attractions. According to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, the other ones are not wrong, but verse 35 is the real reason why Krishna appears. So if you want to find out the real reason why Krishna appears, you can read in the Bhagavatam, text 35 of chapter 8, or come this afternoon. What time? 3:30. 3:30? 3. So we'll see how many are here at 3 o'clock. But you can read anyways. Any comments, questions, discussion? This devotee has such a nice service attitude. May you find many such devotees to help serve Madhupati here in ISKCON Central New Jersey. Your service attitude is awesome. I'm sure Krishna is pleased with you. Yes?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. How to apply the message of not having material shelters? Like in terms of, I tend to think about this what couldn't happen, so how to avoid it, or saving for retirement, or like life insurance. How can I apply in my life that message?
Life insurance. In general, without those specific examples, we make practical arrangements. We're not naive or dull or foolish. We make practical arrangements. Ultimately knowing those practical arrangements aren't going to save me. Now, there are things that are, for example, home insurance. There are things that because this is litigious world in which we live, we have to. So we do what we have to. And other than have to, we don't. We make some practical arrangement. Our real shelter is Krishna. We know that. Even those, life, home insurance or car insurance. You can't drive a car without car insurance. You're in trouble. You're in the clinker if you drive a car without car insurance. At least most states. So you have to know the law and abide by the law and do what's practical. Knowing that's not going to protect me, but it's just some arrangement that I'm making reasonably. So there's, excessive, there's the minimalist, and there's reasonable. So, some persons are liberal, conservative, and moderates. According to your nature, you do. But ultimately know that those aren't protections. So it's funny, like retirement. At a certain point in time, we want to not work and earn living. So something must be there. But I know people that put something somewhere and then something happened and all that something was gone. Gone.
Guru Maharaj, it is very difficult to understand these contradictions and
exactly.
So at least we having some kind of guidance, we are able guidance. We are able to at least appreciate that there are contradictions. But how about non-devotees or people who are just getting in touch with Krishna consciousness, and how do we make sure that they don't commit any mistakes?
Well, you can't make sure people don't do anything. You're not the controller of other people.
I'm just talking about
I'm just
immediate.
responding to the language of your question.
I'm just wondering about immediate siblings and immediate parents. And
how do we guide people so they're less likely to make mistakes? That's what you mean.
In understanding those contradictions.
Through your association. Don't avoid the mistake of being superlatively definitive or excessively definitive about it's like this or it's like that. You can speak, in a general way. Let's say Krishna is kind. I say that all the time because Krishna is kind. So then how do we understand kindness when he does this or he does that? Well, behind your perception of this or that is Krishna's kindness. Because fundamentally, Krishna is very kind. It's his nature. And then you can help them understand how this circumstance behind it is Krishna's kindness. And you may not understand Krishna's kindness in this circumstance, but behind it is Krishna's kindness. Be patient. And with devotion, it will be disclosed to you how this is Krishna's kindness. So therefore, through your association, through your Krishna consciousness, you can help, you can extend something that can protect them from the mistake of being judgmental about Krishna, they don't have the capacity to understand. Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I'm trying to understand.
Hold the microphone a little further away.
I'm trying to understand you mentioned that Garbhodakshaya Vishnu and Kshirodakshaya Vishnu. And Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, we understood that when Garbhodakshaya Vishnu then half filled with water and lie down on the Garbhodaga ocean.
Yes.
And then after that, we understand that Kshirodakshaya Vishnu is the milk, the Shira, the milk ocean.
Yes.
So now Garbhodaga ocean, as well as the Shira, the Sagar or Shira, the ocean of milk. And I'm trying to understand how we take that these two, Garbhodaga as the water, as the Shira, as the milk. So where do we get that picture of, the place, or I'm trying to see that where that exists.
I'm trying to listen very carefully to your question so I can understand your question. Now, let me say back what I've heard.
Yes.
One resides in Swetadweep, that's an ocean of Kir. Another resides at the bottom of the universe where there's an ocean of
water. Yeah.
So how are we to understand the two abodes?
Yes.
That's your question?
Two abodes. Where this?
Why not? Do you have a place?
Yeah.
In fact, some people have more than one place.
No, I understand that. But where in Scripture says that, we know that in the universe, the Garbhodaga, the Lord Garbhodaga Vishnu enters into the universe and filled with water and lies down there.
No problem.
Then, when we also see that after that, the Kshirodakshaya Vishnu expands and lies down in the milk ocean. So
what's
now
the
we say that the universe is there, right?
What's the problem? Look, if you're the Supreme Lord, you can do what you want.
Okay, I understand that. So what I'm trying to understand.
I'm trying to understand what you're trying to understand.
So we say that, okay, Swetadweep.
We need new batteries. Can you fix the battery problem? So keep going.
Okay. So we say Swedadip. So Swedadip, also we understand the Dhruva, the planet of Dhruva. So planet of Dhruva, I think I read somewhere that Srila Prabhupada mentioned that this is the place of Kshirodakshaya Vishnu.
Yeah.
So
What's the problem?
no, I'm trying to understand.
I'm trying to understand what you're trying to understand.
Okay. So
I've got all the history. Now, what is it that you're trying to understand?
So the question, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu in the universe, and the Kshirodakshaya Vishnu is expanded as in each atom, and he expands as the Paramatma, and he also expands as the cause of all the incarnations of the Lord, all the other incarnations of the Lord.
So what's the problem?
So it's not a problem. So I'm trying to understand. So when we say Kshirodakshaya Vishnu, right? Kshirodakshaya Vishnu and the milk ocean, and how do we see that, where exactly, we understand that the Garbhodakshaya Vishnu in the universe.
Don't say it again. You said it 6 times. I got the history.
Okay.
It's very simple. You're making something simple appear to be complicated, but it's not complicated. He has an abode. No, let's expand it. And Karnadakshaya Vishnu reclines on the Karna ocean. That's instead of 2, just make it 3. Karna ocean, Garbhodak ocean, Kshirodak ocean. They have their abode. And one's this, one's that, and the other's the other thing. And they're expansions of the Supreme Lord, and he makes his abode how he wants his abode. And one other thing, it's important. We describe these things like they're chronological. And then, at the same time, the Supreme Lord is eternal. And his abode is co-eternal with him. So he may manifest his abode in this way and in that way, but it's the eternal abode, disclosing to our sensory perception something. But it's his abode. It's not a contradiction. It's just his abode. And his abode takes on different features appropriate for him and his will. So that's the answer to your question. He does things according to his will. And his will is a fact. And it manifests this way or that way according to his will. That's how.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for a very wonderful presentation. I have a question. Like a few years back, like when I read about Queen Kunti prayers, it really inspired me so much.
Good.
And I asked, suddenly thought, God, if you think it's good for me, you can give me calamities. And immediately I lost my job. For next 4 months, I really struggled a lot. My question is, they say, right, if everything goes good, you cannot surrender more. But when you have calamities, your surrender to the Lord is more. So, how to reconcile that, Maharaj? It's good to have more problems so that we can surrender.
Well, it depends on you. If you're of Queen Kunti's level of Krishna consciousness, the answer is yes. And if you're not, the answer is no. And somewhere between, it's maybe. We don't need calamities to surrender to Krishna, but just hearing your explanation, when you lost your job, what happened? Besides you suffered, and you were in big anxiety, you took deeper shelter of Krishna, I bet. Because you're a devotee. So we don't, as far as most devotees are concerned, I don't think we need to pray for calamities. They're going to happen anyways. What we need to pray for is shelter in Krishna, so that when the calamities come or the good fortune comes, we're not disturbed. Either way, because become disturbed by good fortune means when the bad fortune comes, you're going to be disturbed, because bad fortune is going to come as the good fortune is going to come. So then you can do it, the entrepreneurial program. I better do lots of pious activities so I'll have more good fortune. But that's not, the real issue is whether it's good fortune or ill fortune or misfortune. It's where is my heart in my relationship with Krishna? And if I'm surrendered in my relationship with Krishna, simply wanting to please Krishna, it can be whatever Krishna wants. That's the nice one. How about that one? Krishna, you can do with me whatever you like. That's a nice one. That's Lord Chaitanya's one. Now Kunti's praying for calamities. I don't think you need to do that. You pray for Krishna whatever you want. How's that?
Sure.
Or you can pray for the welfare of conditioned souls or those that you love. But the strength of that prayer for those that you love is going to depend upon how pure is your consciousness. So pray for pure consciousness. That's what Prahlad prays for. Take all these impurities. You have sharp teeth and sharp nails. Please rip those impurities from my heart. And then when he does, don't complain. Hey, wait a minute, that was my favorite one. All right?
Thank you so much.
All right.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. So you were saying we can ask for Krishna whatever you like. So is it okay to ask Krishna like bhakti?
Sure.
And then whatever you like?
Sure, because bhakti means whatever you like. Is that all right?
Fine. Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Okay, Hare Krishna. Any on ladies' side, anything? Please put your hand up again.
Guru Maharaj, one of the main themes about contradiction, I have the tendency that whenever I hear about Krishna's inconceivable qualities, my mind tends to gloss over them, thinking this
Your
is...
mind tends to?
Kind of gloss over them, thinking that
gloss
this is
over them.
high philosophical stuff, which is
Oh,
above
this
life.
is. She's not a high philosopher kind of lady. She's
Yeah.
a from the heart kind of lady.
But
So
Maharaj,
let it touch your heart.
Yes, Maharaj. So my question is in regards to that I have this tendency to consider this as more philosophy, but at the same time, I feel that it's critical to approach these kinds of descriptions of Krishna in the right attitude for my Sambandha Gyan, because I need to know how great Krishna is. So Maharaj, my question is how to approach these subjects that seem too philosophical at my level.
Okay. It's not. You can adjust your approach by opening your heart and saying, Kunti, what is it that you're feeling about Krishna? I'd like to understand not the philosophy that you're presenting, but what is it you're feeling about Krishna? And based upon your feeling, what is it you understand about him? Because I'd like to receive your understanding and your feelings. And just do that. Then it won't bounce. You may not go in, but it won't bounce. You won't shut down. Because it's not high philosophy. You have to stretch your intellect and huddle your arms around that message, and now I got another piece of information about Krishna. Some people like, other people it's, how does it strike your heart? What's her heart? She's sharing her heart. So just adjust that way, receiving her feelings and her understandings she wants to share. We've been, fortunately or unfortunately, we've been trained in our educational processes differently. It's information processing kind of education. We're trained up in that. So there's a tendency to approach the messages of the Bhagavatam in the same way. It's dry. It's not but just continue to hear the message of the Bhagavatam and you get moist. Because it's filled with nectar. So hear that way. Showers of nectar. Anything else? Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.